seconds.
Okay, just let me know.
Okay, we can go ahead and start.
Okay, great. I'll call this meeting to order. This is the regular meeting of the Encinitas City Council. It is Wednesday, October 28, 2020 at 6 p.m. And may we please have a roll call?
Yes, Mayor. Councilmember Hubbard is absent. Councilmember Mosca?
Here.
Councilmember Kranz?
Here.
Deputy Mayor Hinsey?
Here.
And Mayor Blakespear?
Here.
Record will show that all members are present with the exception of Councilmember Hubbard.
Okay, thank you. And so I invite you to join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I think we have a flag that we put up so that everybody can see one. Oh, there we go. Okay, thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, so next we have special presentations or proclamations. We don't have any today. Do we have any oral communications?
Yes, Mayor, we do have three. Our first speaker is Cynthia Cremona. Cynthia, you can start when you're ready and you will have 3 minutes.
Thank you. I just unmuted. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
My name is Cindy Cremona. Thank you. And I live in Encinitas. Mayor Blakespear, I understand you might be considering buying a hotel in Encinitas to house the homeless. Has this been decided on, and what is the breakdown in costs? How much will it actually cost us, Encinitas? Which hotel and when will this happen? Will there be a forum where the city has a chance to participate this time? Because in all appearances, it seems the council has learned nothing from their mishandling of the Leach-Tag parking lot when they concealed the project from the city until it was too late for the public to participate in meaningful discussion. You should understand that if you are headed down that same path, you can expect more of the same blowback from your constituents, more resident uproar, neighbors pitted against neighbors, and the homeless feeling caught in the middle. The way the homeless situation was and is being handled does not demonstrate compassion, but instead continues to convey a pattern of backroom dealing and lack of public support or inputs. So how many hotels in Encinitas are currently housing homeless people? Why wasn't the public notified about homeless being housed in these local hotels, especially those living in areas near these hotels? How many homeless people are being housed in these hotels and for how long? If the mayor and council approve the additional agenda item of $300,000 for hotel housing, how long will this be for and for how many homeless people? And again, in which hotels? Are all of the homeless being housed local from Encinitas? If not, why not? And where are they from? Are the homeless being supplied with additional services? If not, why not? And if so, what do these services entail and cost? And who is administering them? I'll follow up with an email copy of my question to the mayor and council for answers and for consideration as a future agenda item. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Bhavani Kurnak. Bhavani, you can start when you're ready and you will have 3 minutes.
Now, okay. Hello, now can you hear me?
Now we can hear you.
Oh, thank you. Okay, my topic is crime data in relation to the homeless parking lot. Shortly after I became aware of the parking lot proposal, I wrote to council with several objections. My first and second objections were respectively that due to its restriction, the project would not serve the general homeless population of Encinitas, and so it would not reduce homelessness. And the second objection was that the project advertising would create a magnet for homeless in Encinitas, and therefore would only serve to increase. Since then, many residents, including the previous speaker, have observed the increasing homelessness on Encinitas streets. 2,400 of us joined Encinitas Watchdog to document and share the information, and there's plenty of anecdotal evidence that my predictions were right. Yet, 2 reports by Captain Taft seem to support the opposite conclusion, that the homeless parking lot has produced no adverse effects. And I asked myself, why don't our observations show up in the law enforcement data? And if it does, where is it? So I wrote to the Sheriff's Department. Lieutenant Todd Norton met with me and some neighbors, showed us how citizens, anybody, can request crime data. So I followed through. I received crimes and calls within a square area about 2 miles wide with the parking lot in the center. So unlike Captain Taft's report on May 20th, my area included OG's, Cottonwood Creek, and it went all the way to the beach. Right away, I could see that 5 categories of calls showed steady increases from the time the parking lot opened. Disturbance, suspicious, trespassing, vandalism, and other. Now those sound like homeless related, don't they? Year over year calls in these categories increased by 77%, 27%, 71%, 88%, and 37% respectively, or on average by 60%. So I have these questions for you. Has anyone in city government looked at these data? Have you made similar requests to the Sheriff's Department? If not, why not? And how can we correct this situation to the satisfaction of residents? In fact, we are enabling homelessness instead of eliminating it. And we need to find out now whether that is true, and we need to change direction to produce the opposite results. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. And then our final speaker under oral communications is Terry Ann Skelly. Terry, are you there? Terry? I see a phone number. I don't see a name. Terry, if that's you on the line, can you unmute yourself, please? Okay, it looks like she's not on the line. So that does conclude oral communications.
Okay, thank you. I will turn it over to our city attorney for a report from closed session.
Good evening. There were 2 matters on the closed session agenda this evening, one involving existing litigation. The matter was City of Encinitas versus the Department of Housing and Community Development. And then there was one other matter involving significant exposure to litigation. And there are no reportable actions out of closed session.
Okay, thank you very much. Do we have any changes to the posted agenda?
I just have one minor edit on item 8K. It should be under recommended action. It should be a contract with DB Pipeline, not DP. And that's the only change that I have to the posted agenda. And then moving to the consent calendar, item 8F has been pulled by a member of the public. Okay, does anybody on council want to pull any item?
Madam Mayor, I'd like to pull 8H. And so I would, if there's no other pulling of items, I'll move the agenda, the consent calendar absent 8F and 8H.
I'll second that.
The Councilmember Krantz, did you have your hand up to say something?
I do, and I did. I support the motion and wanted to just say that accepting the B Street sidewalk improvements, in accepting those, I would like to compliment staff and the contractor for the excellent work that was done I think it's a typical project that we have been working hard to move forward, which is just a ton of pedestrian enhancements. So thank you all very much.
Yeah, I want to second that about B Street, that it's really great. That Moonlight Beach has so many people every year. We have 1 million people on our beaches, and having sidewalk connectivity on both sides of the road that allows people to not walk in the street is really great. And so that has been a long time project that we've been working on, and it's great that we're at the end of that. So I think there was a motion and a second, except for the 2 items that were pulled.
Correct. We ready to vote?
Yes.
Councilmember Hubbard is absent. Councilmember Mosca?
Yes.
Councilmember Crayons?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Hinsey?
Yes.
And Mayor Blakespear?
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously. And we move to the first item removed is item 8F, and that was pulled by Susan Turney. Susan, are you ready to speak, or would you like a staff report?
Hi, Kathy. I'm ready to speak, and a staff report in greater or less detail may be warranted after I ask my questions.
Okay, you can start when ready.
Okay, thank you. Susan Turney, Encinitas City Council candidate for District 2. I'm speaking to the Olivenhain Trunk Sewer Project, Phase 1 as part of 8F. As a reminder to the public, these manholes have been leaking raw sewage into San Elijo Lagoon. I understand that deferred maintenance is so extreme, the manhole covers cannot be accessed using standard equipment and must be treated in a more expensive and individualized manner. And as a known issue, it is strange that a council that prides itself on its exceptional environmentalism has not acted sooner. The $3 million is, I assume, limited to fixing manhole covers in the worst condition first for Phase 1. It should be noted that all manholes along the sewer line are of similar age and likely all should be replaced soon. By breaking it into phases, the council appears to be piecemealing this project, similar to their approach with Streetscape. This has the effect of downplaying the true full costs and is not a transparent way to communicate significant project costs to the public. I would like to know from staff the total estimated cost to repair all compromised manhole covers for all phases, please. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, let's go ahead and have a staff report on that to answer some of her questions. And if you could address specifically the issue of leaking sewage into the San Elijo Lagoon, I'd appreciate that.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council, and guests. This is Matt Wadelsky, the Senior Civil Engineer for this staff report. Yes, this report is for the Olivenhain Trunk Sewer Phase 1, where we are upsizing an 8-inch sewer pipe to a 15-inch diameter and rehabilitating some of the manholes for the project. Going forward is what you have for approval of the construction contract and then the construction inspection services that we need. So that's what the agenda is for. For the cost of the entire leaking sewer into the creek, I can't speak to that. I know the public works staff is a little more familiar with that. After I'm done speaking, maybe they can provide some input on that answer. The 100% cost estimate that we had the cost of about $7.5 million for the entire project.
Okay, and my understanding is that we're doing part of the project because we're still working out right-of-way issues with private property owners. Is that right?
Yes, that is correct. The reason why Phase 1 it was separated into phases because we are still negotiating to acquire needed sewer easements. We cannot access the sewer manholes because we do not have easements from the public road to get down here. But the area in Phase 1 is all within road right-of-way or existing sewer easement. So city staff has the legal right to access all of these, right now.
Okay, thank you. And Carl, did you want to weigh in on that other question?
Yeah, just to clarify for council and the public, the Olivenhain Trunk Sewer was installed in 1972 prior to many of the environmental regulations that we have to deal with today.
Carl, could you just speak up a little bit? I'm sorry, but maybe
Yes.
thank you.
Is that a little clearer?
That's a lot better. Thank you.
The trunk sewer was installed in 1972 prior to a lot of the environmental regulations that we have to follow today. The pipe was installed in literally the middle of the creek bed in Escondido Creek in some instances. So there was really no way for us to access all of the manholes that are outside the public right of way, just because in a lot of instances, at certain times of the year, it's literally submerged and underwater. So this design is accomplishing two things. One, we are trying to provide environmentally sensitive access to the manholes so that we can get in there and take care of them. And secondly, we're trying to work with all of the private property owners, and as Matt mentioned, some of them are more complicated than others. So we're working with each of the property owners individually. We broke the project into phases. Basically, as Matt said, phase one is already in the public right of way. Phase two is mostly across public lands that we don't anticipate as much issues obtaining the easements. And phase three is a lot of the really sensitive private properties. Each manhole that we rehab will limit the amount of inflow that comes into these manholes that is ultimately we have to pay to treat at San Alejo treatment plant. So even doing it in phases, each manhole we rehab will improve the situation. And to meet our NPDES permits, we have to be able to access these manholes for maintenance. In the event when the speaker was talking about sewer spilling, that does not happen as often as water is spilling into the sewer from the creek. However, it could happen, and we need to be able to get to these manholes to perform maintenance, to open the lines. So all in all, this problem was identified in our 2011 master plan. We have been working since 2011 with the resource agencies to get the needed permits to be able to get into the area. We're at the final stages of those permits being issued, and we now have to get our easements assigned to us so that we can finalize those environmental permits and get the work done.
Okay, thank you, Carl. Councilmember Kranz?
Yeah, Carl, thanks for the info. Can you be a little more specific about the situation with the sewage? It's been asserted that this is leaking, and it's the way it's phrased, it sounds like it's constantly leaking raw sewage. And can you clarify, I believe it is mostly during storm events that there's some infiltration of stormwater and possibly some leakage at that time. But as it sits now with the fairly dry season that we've had, is there any raw sewage leaking into the creek?
No, I thank you. I should have clarified that. So in normal conditions, the pipe is handling the water. The pipe is not the problem. The pipe is tight. The problem resides with the old manholes. The manholes are degraded. There's in sewage, there's natural hydrogen sulfide, which is corrosive to concrete. So this concrete is old and it's leaking. So it's only when during a heavy storm event, when the capacity of the pipe is exceeded and those manholes fill up, that is when there's a potential to leak raw sewage. However, like I said, normally the flood water is higher than the outside of the manholes. So the storm water is being forced into the system. So we're not aware of any spills out of the sewer system. What we are aware of is we overtax the San Alejo treatment plant every time it rains, and there is a risk of a spill. If there was a blockage in the pipe, there would be a risk of it overtopping and spilling into the creek. However, the real problem is infiltration into the pipe.
And I would just take it a step further. The real issue too, and why this came to the front, is because of the infiltration of the stormwater into the wastewater for San Alejo. So the Liebenhain sewer and also the Cardiff sewer goes to the San Alejo wastewater treatment facility. And that treatment facility, unlike Encina, actually has a biological system that helps clean up that water and then send it out to the ocean. And when you put the stormwater into that system, it has so much salinity in it that it actually breaks down the biological system at San Alejo, and then that causes a major issue in upset and permit issues for San Alejo, our wastewater facility. So this issue really was pushed by San Alejo. I mean, it needs to be done, but it was really pushed from the wastewater facility that we have infiltration into the system. It wasn't spillage, it was much more stormwater infiltration. And this is a large project that we've been working on for a while, involving lots of engineering time and lots of money being put into it. And so we're moving as quickly as possible. And if we had all the public right away and private land use issues resolved, we probably would be moving on it as one project, one fell swoop.
Yeah, and I had some follow-ups previously. I also see that we're upsizing the pipe. I'm assuming that's because as long as we're there, we want the additional capacity, or are we over capacity with the homes that have been added and are using this pipe? And the other issue related to this, when homes are built, there's a fee that's paid to impact, an impact fee, correct? So that much of this work is being paid for with the fees that are collected as part of construction?
Yeah, and Matt, I'll pipe up if I get this wrong, but I believe the upsizing issue, Councilor Krantz, is mainly that there's an area of the pipe on Lone Jack where the pipe could stay in the road, but it swings out into the brook and then it comes back into the road, and we're going to straighten the pipe in the road, and there's a lower slope there for us, but the larger capacity will allow the flow to get through it without surcharging. And you're correct, some of all of this work is being done through the sewer capital fee, and that is fed by, as you said, when permits are taken, they pay into a fund. So when we have to upsize the sewer, that qualifies for that expansion fund.
Yeah, and also just one thing I want to add is that, I'm on the San Alejo Wastewater District Board, and we have not had a plant upset, which is the term of art Councilmember Mosca referred to, a plant upset where the biology gets off and things basically can start to smell really bad, and you have to come in and fix that. And if that were happening, we would be being fined. I mean, so at least from my knowledge, or from my perspective, and I just want to confirm this with Carl, that there's the potential for us to have a plant upset. There's the potential for there to be sewer leakage, but we are not currently leaking sewage, and we have not been. And if we had been, we would have had these substantial daily fines that we would be dealing with and aware of as a city. So at least that's my understanding of the situation. And so I just wanted to confirm that that's the case.
Yeah, Mayor Blakespear, that's accurate. There is a risk, and I'll tell the board and the public one instance. In the April 10th storm of last year, the plant got so overwhelmed that to try to keep from spilling and getting raw sewage into the lake, we actually opened an overflow pond at one of the pump stations, and we had many rented trucks pumping out of the Olevenheim trunk sewer, as well as all of the city pump trucks pumping out of the Olevenheim trunk sewer. And Mike Thornton's crew was running the redundant force mains both at the same time, full bore, and we were backing up water into the emergency backup system. So we came as close as we ever want to come to spilling during that storm. We managed to contain it all and keep it from spilling into the brook, but it is really a delicate situation, and we need to deal with it as soon as we can.
Councilmember Krantz?
I remember seeing the email thread while that event was taking place, and there was quite a sense of panic, and because it didn't seem like we had the equipment to manage it. And I believe several agencies came to support and avoid that that spill. And so I appreciate all the efforts of all the local agencies that contributed to that. At the same time, I want to ask a question that may sound critical, but I did read in the staff report that this particular matter was declared a high priority in 2011. And here we are in 2020, and it's kind of just getting started. And I'm wondering what other declaration we might have made that could have made this happen a little more quickly.
I don't know if Matt is preparing to answer. I do not know the answer to that.
Can you hear me now? Can everybody hear me?
Yes. Yes, we can.
Okay. Sorry. Yes. Like we said, the project was identified in the 2011 citywide sewer master plan, and then into 2012, the city began work on this. The one thing, once I took over in 2017, was the environmental impact report. It took a significant amount of time to get it done, because we didn't get that done until about 2018. That was when it got done. That was what kind of took a long time in the beginning. There were a lot of comments on the EIR, and they all had to be addressed. So once we got to 2018, we got to 50%. We finished up the design. We've been moving and trying to go as expeditiously as possible with getting this project constructed.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so I would entertain a motion on this.
Move approval.
Second.
Okay, we'll start voting. Councilmember Hubbard is absent. Councilmember Mosca?
Yes.
Councilmember Kranz?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Hinsey?
Yes.
And Mayor Blakespear?
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously with Councilmember Hubbard absent. We now move to item 8H, and that was pulled by Councilmember Mosca.
Really quickly, I just wanted to discuss this with you. 8H has to do with the appointment of a commissioner for the Traffic and Public Safety Commission, more specifically a spot for a Liebenheim representative. And this opened up and is kind of in the not usual kind of timeline, because Peter Cole, who is the chair of our Traffic and Public Safety Commission, retired or resigned earlier than his time was allotted for. And so we've been asked to appoint somebody for this position. I've received several calls from people saying that they didn't know that this was vacant, that they didn't see notice of it. And I know that because of the election and because of a lot of things going on, and I'm not sure if the notice was for the full time, and also because this was, we generally do our appointments in March, that a lot of people didn't know that this was out there and that this was available, something they could apply for. As a result, we only got one appointment. And I know that you guys, you've seen before, when we have vacancies on our commissions, we generally get a lot of responses, and here we only get one response. And so if it's okay with you, what I'd like to do is just extend this deadline 30 more days, open it back up, so we can make sure, just out of an abundance of caution, we can make sure that everybody who wants to respond can respond, that they can, see that this is open and available, see if they want to apply for it, ask questions, and then apply if they want to apply. At the end of the day, we may only have one person, but we've done what we can to make sure that people are aware that we have a vacancy, and it's not during the normal time, which is around March, when we generally appoint people. So I'd move that we extend this at least 30 more days for notice.
Could I interrupt before you make that motion, Councilmember Mosca? This is Kathy Hollywood.
Sure.
If you're planning to extend it for 30 days, that takes us into December, and that's when I'm going to begin the annual recruitment, which this will be a part of. So we'll start recruiting in December for all those appointments that are expiring in March 2021. This would be one of those. So we would advertise the month of December. We would check all the applications. Usually they come in mid-January, and then council will review them and appoint in February.
So I would move that we just kind of put this as part of the regular process. I think we should have probably have done that. People are busy right now, and now I'm getting several calls, why didn't I get notice of this? And so it makes more sense that it's back up during the normal time when people have an opportunity when the city clerk is noticing everybody about all the different vacancies, and people have an opportunity to decide whether or not they want to apply for this. So I would move that we extend this or put this back out during the normal time when the city clerk advertises all the vacancies.
Yeah, I'll second that. I thought it was strange too that this was such a short amount of time. And I think something that we're working towards on the school district liaison committee is a lot with safe routes to school. And I'd like to be able to give all of the parents in Olievenheim the opportunity to participate in that discussion as a commissioner if they'd like to as well. So I think it's a good idea to extend.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Kranz, do you have your hand up?
Yeah, I'm a little concerned about the idea of precedent setting nature. I think that, we have a process that we use. And so, I think that I'm a little hesitant to extend this. I guess one question that I would ask Kathy is if this appointment were to happen tonight, this particular position would still be advertised, right? Because this appointee is simply completing the term of Peter Cole, and I don't think it would count towards this gentleman's term limit, would it?
That's correct. So this is this item right here is for an unscheduled vacancy, meaning someone leaves before their term has actually expired. So whenever that happens, we do advertise. It's placed in the newspaper. We put it on the city news. I send it out to the council members. So even if you appointed tonight, this would still be advertised beginning in December for the annual recruitment process. And it would not count if this person was appointed, it would not count since it's a partial term, it would not count as a full term when considering term limits.
I mean, I'll just say that I'm inclined to defer to my council colleagues who, I recognize that it only meets once a month. So to put someone on there for like 2 months or 3 months doesn't really seem to make sense. I'm inclined to go with Councilmember Mosca's motion and Deputy Mayor Hinsey's second to have this be part of the regular process because of that. And also in recognition too of the fact that this is Olievenheim and the Olievenheim rep has an opinion about it. So I think, that also weighs in.
Right, and I think that Councilmember Kranz has a good point, a fair point. I would just say that because of I don't know if we have situations like this in the past, but we're around a very loud election from the national right down to the local level. There's so much going on, and so that it's reasonable that people just have not gotten notice. And I've gotten 4 or 5 phone calls and emails saying, you guys haven't noticed this. What's going on? I didn't have an opportunity. And so, this is an opportunity for people to volunteer and step up. And so I think extending it, but in this case, since the term is just about done, just kind of moving it to the normal process, I think that's it's reasonable with regard to what's going on.
Okay, let's go ahead and vote.
Okay, Councilmember Hubbard is absent. Councilmember Mosca?
Yes.
Councilmember Kranz?
No.
Deputy Mayor Hinsey?
Yes.
Mayor Blakespear?
Yes.
Motion carries with Councilmember Hubbard absent and Councilmember Kranz voting no.
Okay, great. I think we're done with the consent calendar then, right?
That's correct. We now move to action item 10A.
Okay, we'll hand it over to staff.
All right. Close. I didn't share it. Sorry. All right, sorry about that. Good evening, Mayor and Council. This is the continuation of the Vulcan 12 density bonus appeal that was first heard on October 14th, 2020, 2 weeks ago. On October 14, the City Council received the appeal and public testimony. The Council voted 401, Hubbard absent, to request additional information from the applicant to substantiate and support arguments for the southern setback waiver and continue the matter to a date certain of October 28, 2020, which is tonight. No individuals provided public testimony during the public hearing except for the appellant and the applicant. Tonight, staff recommends the denial of the appeal and approval of the project with a modified 9-foot setback for the southerly units as explained in the agenda report. The applicant and staff worked very hard to address council's concerns to increase the south setback. The result is that the applicant was able to almost double the 5-foot setback to almost 10 feet, but resulted in 9 feet above and beyond the projected 2 to 3 feet discussed the past week with the Sierra Mobile Home Park. Various government code sections point to a minimum 3-foot door landing. The project initially had a 4-foot door landing. For the first two columns of the homes as depicted in the image, their front door landings were reduced by 1 foot to a minimum of 3 per the government code sections, allowing for a gain of 4 feet to be added to the 5-foot setback, resulting in a 9-foot setback. For the easterly units, which are configured a little differently on the project site, there was adequate separation between the units to move them closer and still maintain the 24-foot backup. Therefore, all southerly units, units 10 through 12, would maintain a 9-foot setback. With the 9-foot setback, all the density bonus waiver findings can be maintained through state density bonus law. All waivers, with the 9-foot setback, all the waivers would not preclude the project's construction. The project is still exempt from CEQA. There are no historical resources on site. And the waivers through the state density bonus law would not be contrary to the state or federal law. Therefore, as demonstrated and presented in the staff report, and staff recommends that the City Council adopt resolution number 2020-85 to deny appeal and approve the project with a modified 9-foot setback for the southerly units. And this concludes my staff report. Thank you.
Okay, do we have any public speakers on this?
No, we do not.
Okay, Councilmember Krantz.
I wanted to say I appreciate Brian's efforts to make this happen, and Jay and staff. We got the email from the spokesperson for the Sierra Park saying that they were satisfied with the efforts that had been made, and I too think that it's really satisfying to see that we were able to make some improvements on this, and I appreciate all your efforts. So I would move staff recommendation.
I'll second that. And also just echo those comments from my colleague. It's great to be able to put all the smart people together in a room and come up with a compromise and make all sides happy. So I'm just really grateful for the teamwork and the willingness to concede a little bit here and there and to recognize reality and to move forward with something everyone could agree on. It's a great example of that happening here. So just really want to thank everybody involved in that. I know it was complicated, and you deserve a big pat on the back. So let's see. I don't see anyone else's hands up. Should we go ahead and vote then, unless anyone else wants to speak? Okay, let's go ahead and vote.
Councilmember Hubbard is absent. Councilmember Mosca?
Yes.
Councilmember Krantz?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Hinsey?
Yes.
And Mayor Buxbaer?
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously with Councilmember Hubbard absent.
Okay, good. Thank you. I saw Aaron had a smile there. It's great to see. Okay. And so does Brian. He has a smile too. Okay, well, this is good. Let's see. No informational items, no council member initiated items. Council member reports. Does anybody want to report? I will report on our State of the City last night, which went very well from the Chamber of Commerce, done virtually. There were a lot of people on. I think up to 80 people were watching it. I thought it was flawless technically. And also I was really happy with the content and the way the slides came together. I really want to thank the staff at the city for all the work that went into that. And so that's good because that's 2020 State of the City. We didn't push it into another calendar year because we try to do one every year. So let's see. Anybody else have a report? Yes, Councilmember.
It's not a report, but I did want to follow up on your comments about the State of the City address. While your presentation was certainly a good summary, I think that the part that I appreciated the most was the conversation with the doctor from Scripps. And, I think that one of the things that maybe sometimes we forget is what a remarkable regional asset we have in Scripps Hospital. And I was totally amazed at the most recent contribution by the Lusardis of $25 million. And I would hope that the city, through the mayor's office, would be sure that they get a letter of appreciation for their consideration and generous, very generous contribution.
Yeah, that's a great point. And he that was a really interesting part of last night. And one of the things he said, it was Dr. Eisman, was that there are 5 positive COVID cases at Encinitas Hospital right now, as of yesterday. So our local numbers of who is in our local hospital is down, and we're not, at having a surge in capacity. So that's really interesting to hear because I don't think we're really following that number very closely. And I was happy to hear that.
And I think that Scripps has been a great neighbor to the folks in the neighborhood and very impressive facilities being built. There were some, as everybody knows, the original medical offices that were there have just kind of grown and it's good to see some state-of-the-art facilities going in. I know there are other impacts of having a facility like that, a regional facility, but Dr. Eisman mentioned 1,600 employees, which is a pretty big employer. And, I think that one of the things that we need to do is continue to foster that relationship so that if there are opportunities with that, with the hospital to, work on either affordable housing, since I know some of those 1,600 employees are probably on the lower end of the wage scale. So there are, I think that anything that we can do to foster that relationship is definitely beneficial to the city.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, any other reports from the outside boards anybody's on? Want to raise your hand? Okay. What about city manager report?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. No report this week.
Okay, city attorney report.
Thank you. No reports.
Okay, city clerk report.
Well, I'm sure you can guess what I'm going to report on. The election is right around the corner. So just a reminder to everyone to make sure that if you're going to do a drop-off, make sure that you fill out your ballot, that you sign it, and you drop it off at one of the drop-off locations for Encinitas. Those are the Cardiff Library, Encinitas Library, Encinitas Chamber of Commerce, and Magdalena Ecke YMCA. For those people that are looking to vote in person, this year will be a little different. Make sure you check your sample ballot. It has your assigned polling location listed on it, and you will be able to vote in person beginning on Saturday, October 31st through Monday, November 2nd from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. And then on election day, the polls will be open from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. So just a reminder to everyone to get their ballots in.
Okay, yeah, it's really a great detail to remember that you can vote in person for 4 days. So at the place that's on your ballot, if you want to do that. And in Encinitas, 47% of people have voted. So that leaves 53% that have not voted as of today. So there's still time. And also, even if you miss the deadline for provisional voting, there are 250,000 people in this county who are eligible to vote and are not registered to vote. So if you know somebody who is a new voter, young or otherwise, you can try to help them register to vote, and they can still vote with the provisional ballot up until election day, from now until election day.
Correct. And I'll just add, Mayor Blakespear, for those watching, if you have any questions about your ballot, or there has been some questions about if they make a mistake, make sure that you contact the registrar of voters. They are at sdvote.com, or their phone number is 858-565-5800.
Okay, you want to say it one more time? Just in case anyone's writing.
The email or the website address is sdvote.com, and the phone number is 858-565-5800.
I also heard something today, Kathy, maybe you could expand upon anybody that does decide that they don't want to put their ballot in the mail, they don't want to vote at home, they want to go to vote at their polling location. They should bring in their mail-in ballot with them so that they can hand that in. Otherwise, the ballot that they cast at the polls would be a provisional ballot. Is that your understanding?
That's correct. That's correct.
So bring it with you, whether you voted or not, and then turn it in if that's the way you want to, if you want to vote in person.
That's correct.
That's a great reminder. I was curious about that part too. So thanks for bringing that up. Okay, well, I think that's it. We are now adjourned when our next meeting is November 18. Thank you.